Inspirations and Experts with Sofia Sanchez. Sofia meets with expert Tiffany Johnson.
Hi, nice to meet you. What's your name?
I'm Tiffany.
Nice to meet you, Tiffany. And what is conflict?
Conflict is, I think, when people don't get along or someone can be mean to another person in terms of conflict.
What do you do if you don't get along?
Oh, I think that's hard because every person has their own personality, and sometimes we just don't mesh very well. But I was thinking about it, and to me it depends on what the relationship is, how important the relationship is to ourselves, but also to the other people. You know, is this our parent, or is this our boss? Is this our best friend? And each relationship is gonna have a different way of resolving the conflict or getting through it.
What advice do you have?
Because every conflict is different, sometimes when I'm talking to my own clients, I call it out in the wild. In an office, we can have a really good conversation about how to resolve conflict. But when we are out in the wild, the other person's response isn't always perfect. And so the advice is to be flexible and kind of go with the flow sometimes, because we never know what to expect.
Yeah, we have never to expect. What would you like to add?
Well, I thought about this before we met and was trying to figure out what kind of information I might be able to share with you, or what questions you might ask me, because I didn't know. And so I thought about some things that come up in office when I'm talking with my own clients, ways to resolve conflict or things that come up. So I have a couple of them here, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. So my first one is to be authentic. We don't want to use a script or use somebody else's words. If we're trying to use someone else's words to explain ourselves, it doesn't come out well. So being authentic and acknowledging our own role, recognizing how we may have contributed to the conflict. We don't always. Sometimes people are mean to us without us being involved, but we want to acknowledge our role when our role is there. Listen to the other person. Sometimes when we're having conflict, we want to explain ourselves and we want to tell them why we did what we did. But sometimes we need to listen to them first. Resist being defensive. Again, we want to be able to explain ourselves first, and it comes off as defensive, and that doesn't go well in conflict. The language of apology. That is where we want to know how our other person hears an apology the best. Do they want to be told we're sorry, or do they want us to make up for it? If we broke something, they might want it fixed, and an I'm sorry isn't gonna help. So we wanna know what's gonna work best for them. And then letting the other person be who they are. Sometimes in conflict, we want other people to do what we want them to do, but we can't, always do that, because other people have their own personalities. And then give ourselves grace. I don't know anybody who's perfect at conflict. I don't know anyone who can do it perfect each time and get it right each time. So give ourselves grace. Sometimes conflict goes bad. And then the last part is finding a resolution or compromise. It's not always pretty, but if we work together, then we can, work together to have that relationship continue. So those are just things that I came up with thinking back to what I talk to my clients about.
Nice. And I did a question about something that you said. And when someone's not being nice to someone, how can you tell them?
Yes, that's a good question. Because if someone's not being nice to us and we tell them in the moment, they might be in a really bad mood and still respond negatively. That's a really good question. I think sometimes maybe trying to, depending on what's happening, if the other person's in a really bad mood and they're not being nice, they're not going to respond well to us. But if we change the environment, if we change the conversation, let things get a little bit nicer, and then say, hey, I know you weren't feeling so well earlier, but that hurt my feelings. But I think making sure that we have a equal ground to start from is going to help.
Definitely. Would you like to add?
Well, in thinking about what questions you might ask me or what we might talk about, I thought about things that come up in the office when I'm talking with clients about conflict or things that are coming up in their life. So I have a list of them, if that's okay with you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the first one is be authentic. Don't use a script and don't use someone else's words. It doesn't come off as, us being truly involved if we're not authentic. We want to acknowledge our role, recognize how we may have led to some of the conflict. It may not always be that way. We may not always have a role in it, but sometimes we do, and we want to acknowledge that. Listen to the other person. If we cause the conflict, we want to listen before we try to explain ourselves. In that way, we want to resist defensiveness. When something happens, we want to be heard too, but we have to listen to our other person, the person that we're in the conflict with, before we explain ourselves. We don't want to be defensive. Also, we want to look at the language of apology, and that is knowing how the other person wants to see a resolution, especially if we are the one who caused it. So if we broke something, do they want it fixed? Or do they want to just be told that you're sorry that you broke it? Maybe we need to fix something to follow up with that. Letting the other person be who they are. Sometimes we want that person to fit our mold of how we want a conflict to resolve, and sometimes they can't do that. We might have to find that common ground with letting them be who they are. Also, give ourselves grace. I don't know of anyone who's perfect at resolving conflict. It's a hard thing to do. And it depends on what the relationship is. How important is the relationship for us to be resolving it? And then the last one is in finding the resolution or compromise. Sometimes that's not pretty, or it takes time.
Yeah, it doesn't. But it's hard to memorize that everyone can learn from their mistakes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. They can.
They
can.
It's a practice.
It's always a practice.
Yeah.
They can say, I'm so sorry I broke something. We can find a way to fix it together.
We can find a way to fix it together.
Yeah. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sophia meets with inspiration Zachary.
How do you handle conflict?
How I handle conflicts is I kind of ignore them. So say if a parent doesn't agree with me on certain things about their athlete, I'll be like, okay, well, this is how I do things. If you want to coach them, then, take them somewhere else. I don't have time to, bicker with you about certain things that your athlete needs. I focus on worrying about the whole team and not just that one person. So the conflicts, I kind of just ignore them, or I'll just tell them, if you're not happy here, just go somewhere else. That's how I deal with it.
What do you do when your cheerleaders are having an argument?
So when my cheerleaders get in an argument, or the athletes get in an argument, I pull them aside. I take them privately to the other side of the room. I talk to them about it, and then if they can't come to terms, then I would have to talk to the parents would have to talk to their athlete, and then I would have to make a decision on to cut them, or they would have to just squash it. There's sometimes they do squash it, sometimes they don't, and then they leave. I have athletes that gotten in the fights before, and it's not pretty. It's hard to maintain them, especially when they're in the high school era. So middle school and high school girls, they kind of more get in the fights. Little elementary school kids, they really don't really care about whatever's going on in the world. But the high school kids, yeah, they're hard to control, because they're either fighting over, oh, I want this position, oh, I want this position. You can't have everything. So, yeah, that's how I deal with it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Logos for Northern Nevada Center for Independent Living, Southern Nevada Center for Independent Living.